Hello and welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm your host Adam Binney, joined by Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald. And Hugh seems to be a regular occurrence now, but Peter again skiving from work. Where is he?
I know that's you just can't get the help nowadays. But Adam already made a replacement for him here. The show must go on.
Correct, Ruffy.
Yeah.
Peter, patched you again. Are you starting to like his absences and getting rid of him? Finally, getting some youth on the couch.
I think we're all a wee bit more relaxed because he is demanding. And things aren't going well, man. It's you can't be about him. So it's a nice, relaxed atmosphere today.
Yeah, well, I've had to come for him in the first couple of minutes of the show, Hugh, because I've been getting texts all week from friends that watch the show that say Peter's had a few things to say about my haircut this week. Anytime I've been, do you think that's justified?
I cannot possibly comment on anybody's haircut given my view, but the last time I saw a perm with that was Ruffy in 1978.
Yes, yeah, he's went for the sort of a soft perm rather than the full booner. But it was nice of Peter to leave one of his shirts, a smaller version obviously. If you're going to wear a presenter, you've got to wear the same style.
It doubles up for his second job, which is President of Bolivia.
Jesus.
But I have to apologise for my shorts. I really am apologise because where I came from, the weather was absolutely magnificent. But unfortunately, through here in Motherwell, it's not a good. It isn't not a good look. But I'll try and check the weather next time.
I've had green and blue combo going on there as well. Is that you remaining neutral in Old Firm League?
It's not the colour that I'm talking about. It's just the shorts. You know.
Terrible. Anyway, moving on from the chat regarding our awful haircuts and fashion choices, we've got a quiz question. As always, Hugh, Ruffy, how many major European finals have Scottish clubs participated in? We'll put that on screen for you just now as well and let our lovely viewers have a little guess at that. Can you take a stab in the dark for a number?
I think 4, 6, 7, 8, I would think.
8. Ruffy?
I'll go 7.
Counting them up in your head. 7, 8, yeah, we'll reveal at the end of the show what the grand total is. Again, if you're watching this and you think you have the correct answer, comment it and I'll do my best to read out some of the answers come the end of the show. The reason I've posed that question to you is because today marks the 40th anniversary of Aberdeen's fantastic European Cup Winners' Cup victory where they defeated Real Madrid 2-1 back in 1983. Before I get your guys' memories and opinions and views on that fantastic day in Gothenburg, I took a little look back myself on that historic day. Today marks the 40th anniversary of Aberdeen's European Cup Winners' Cup triumph over Real Madrid in Gothenburg. John Hewitt scored the Dons' winner in a 2-1 victory, and it remains the last time that Real Madrid suffered a defeat in any European final. 40 years on, the players are immortalised for their part in the club's greatest ever achievement. Legendary defender Alex McLeish spoke to us about the unforgettable celebrations that followed the famous victory.
Yeah, it was probably more the next day, you know, when we went back to Aberdeen, got on the bus and then, you know, going through it was all surreal, you know, through the city with the cup and the thousands that lined up the city, and you know, right from the Aberdeen airport. Now when you're looking back, you're saying, wow, you know, all the other teams that have done these things really treasure it, and you know, so I think it's truly fitting that you know, the Aberdeen Gothenburg guys are seen as legends.
Don's hero John McMaster also told us about how he dealt with the realisation that upon the full-time whistle he had become a club legend forever.
Did you sense I am and we are forever in Aberdeen's history? Did you get that sense when you've won the European Cup Winners' Cup?
No, it's actually the team that we beat. We looked at in strength. The cup was brilliant to get, but it was what you got after it from the fans.
Yeah.
You're a legend. I found that hard to accept because we're still playing. It's like a wee kid's book. There's a good story in it, you know, and you end up beating the biggest team in the world.
That on the back is super special, absolutely superb as a memory.
Aberdeen remain the last Scottish club to win a European title and look set to return to group stage continental football next season under new boss Barry Robson for the first time in 16 years. On this very special anniversary, Dons fans, tell us your memories of that night in Gothenburg. Ruffy, you know a lot of the players that were in that team very well. This is well before my time, but enlighten me. What was that like at the time when
they were a super team, you know, and they weren't just big individuals. They were a team. You know, they all played for each other. They all came. You know, they all socialised together. You know, they all went out together, which is always a good thing. You know, and they were high as a kite. I think we got them at Hibs. We got to a League Cup final just after that, and they thumped us 3-0. But they were really good players. I don't know how they held on to a lot of them for so long. A lot of them left, obviously, because, you know, of where they were in their game. You know, Gordon left, and Eric Black left, and Mark left, you know, so... But no, we keep talking about the Celtic team, how successful they are, because they've got 11 on the park and they've got 5 on the bench. Their 5 on the bench were as good as the 11. And that's why they were so successful. You know, the players that they could bring on at any particular time.
Yeah. Hugh, your memories of that day?
Memories of that day was real sheer joy. You know, watching it. I wasn't at the game. I watched it on the television. As Alan says, downpour, heavy pitch, Aberdeen going down, and then coming back to win. And not short though. I mean, the other day there, I wrote a piece for the paper this morning about it, and I think sometimes people of a different generation kind of underestimate how good a team they are. You know, it's as if they were, you know, they got a wee bit lucky, or they were plucky kind of winners and things like that. And I remember a young dandy saying to me when Aberdeen were chasing Ronnie Dyler's Celtic, he said to me, would we win the league if we'd had McLeish and Miller in the side? McLeish and Miller in the side? I said, definitely. He says, but they're both in their 50s now, so they may have some... I mean, McLeish and Miller at that team, this is how, Adam, you can't overstate this. McLeish and Miller were the best centre-half pair in Europe. In Europe.
Really?
Huh?
You believe that out of all the players in Europe at that time, those two were the best?
That was the best centre-half partnership. And people at the time wouldn't even have... They might have said, oh, but you know, what Hansen and Lawrence and Liverpool and all that, and there might have been an argument there, etc., etc. But yep, there was a definite argument. I would say in that team, every one of them, you know, we saw John McMaster there who played left-sided left back. He could play in mid. He was a midfielder, really. He was a beautiful midfielder. Stuart Kennedy, who didn't play in the final, who was the right back. Terrific pace, up, down, real strength, youth and guile in the midfield. 2 youngsters in, and Simpson and Cooper. And then I think in the team, if you're talking about, and I'm talking about the top elite level, like top European level, if you were discussing to go anywhere, I think you had to at that time include Leighton, because Leighton was at the top of his form then. McLeish and Miller, Strachan and Peter Weir. I think they were top-notch players. I mean, Strachan went on till he was nearly 40, won a Premier League in England.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to play in goals behind Alec and Willie with Scotland for a few games.
Do you agree with that statement as well?
Yeah, I can honestly say in any time that they were the 2 centre-halves that I played, whether it was against England or Wales or Ireland, I had nothing to do. There was nothing came through them. There was nothing. If they were going to, if nobody played a 1-2 by them, you would have to have hit a shot for 25, 30 yards or something, because they were so tuned into each other. Obviously, Willie was the old-time sweeper, which you don't see very much now, but they read each other like a book. They were so good together. What
do you think the equivalent of that is now? So you're saying these are the 2 best centre-halves in Europe, or the best centre-half pairing in Europe at the time. Let's take the team as a whole then. Aberdeen, what do you think their European equivalent is now in today's terms, to try and quantify this for people like me that might not understand how good this team were? Who do you think this team could compete with?
I don't think you want to bounce to modern football. I think you've got to bounce to the era of what they played in and the players they played in, because the game has moved on so much. I mean, we saw the Real Madrid game the other night there, and the players that you've got. If you were to say, would Aberdeen beat that team? No. You would say no, you know, because things have moved on. But if you stick to that era, you know, I mean, Hughes already said Bayern Munich. You beat them in a semi-final and you beat Real Madrid in the final. And they had other scalps as well, you know, through the years.
I mean, absolutely. My point about it as well is it's Fergie's greatest hour. His greatest hour. And I'll tell you why. He won 2 European trophies that year with Aberdeen, right?
So that includes the Super Cup, which there is people arguing in the comments for the quiz question is included. So the Super Cup, the old edition of the UEFA Cup, which is now the Europa League, Cup Winners' Cup and Champions League or European Cup, all are included for the people arguing in the comments over that. But yeah, so you think greatest ever achievement?
Yeah, because you look at it, I mean, you say to yourself, history is made once, isn't it? You make history once, you become the first team to do this, you become the first team to do that, you become... Well, Alec won, 13 titles with Premier League titles with Manchester United, a European Cup Winners' Cup, 2 Champions League, a couple of World Club Cups. It's not impossible to think Manchester United will do that again. Maybe not win 13, but you know, a Manchester United manager will win the Premier League again. A Manchester United manager will very possibly win a Champions League again. That's not without the bounds of reason. But Aberdeen Football Club winning what would be now the Europa League, then going on to beat the Champions League winners in the Super Cup, I don't see anybody ever doing that again.
Well, roughly, would you agree?
Yeah,
do you think it's
agreed, yeah. I mean, of that era, I played against them, you know, every year, you know, whether it be Hibs or whether it would be Partick Thistle, and they were so strong. And as I said, they were so strong in reserve, you know. When you say Aberdeen, you always go Gordon Strachan, Jim Leighton, Alec McLeish. You tend to forget about the McMasters and the Rugfies and the John Hewitts and the guys. Ian Angus. Ian Angus,
completely forgotten about.
And
Dougie Bell.
And you touch the wingers as well that they had, Peter Weir. You know, they were just a complete squad, you know, a squad that you don't see very often. Sometimes they come along every 10, 15 years, but at that particular time, they were absolutely super.
Hugh, we've got a comment from Hugh Scott saying that there are no central defensive pairings now that even come close to Miller and McLeish. The defenders today can't defend properly. The art's gone from the game, sadly. Do you think, although the game is different now, do you think that in terms of ability to defend the way those two did, is now no longer a part of modern football?
I think that other stuff's demanded of defenders now. I mean, Alec McLeish and Willie Miller they shall not pass. Willie Miller would tell you that any time he went to ground in a tackle, he knew he'd made a mistake, because there's no reason to go to ground unless you make a mistake. McLeish was much underrated, as McLeish scored one of the great goals, cup final goals at Hampden, a chip to the back post, so he's technically good. People forget how technically good Big Alec was, as well as being very powerful. I just think now it's like the fullback argument now.
We've had this argument plenty of times.
It's like that argument. The game has changed now, and it's the goalkeeper argument as well. You know, goalkeepers are now getting bought and played as footballers, not as handballers, as footballers. And central defenders are now getting picked because of their ability, you know, to run backwards, cover space in behind, and their ability to play out of the back. So it's apples and pears. But certainly in old football, what I would call old football, where it was the old offside law, where you were either offside or you weren't. It wasn't all this interfering with play or first phase, where you could pass back to the goalkeeper, where you could have a whack at a forward as well without getting McLeish and Miller were, you know, they were the top, the really top end, absolute top end. And I just feel like some of it has been forgotten by a generation, because you'll get this arguments, you know, as I say, about players being as good as players in other generations. And Scottish football at that time was packed with terrific players. Just down the road from Dundee United, we're having tilts at European finals and European Cup finals. They didn't make it as well. With another great centre-half pairing of Hegarty and Derry.
And the other strong point as well is, you know, these guys that we're talking about, the Scottish guys, were so good. The English teams were taking them. The English Premiership was full of Scottish players. Everybody needed 2 or 3 Scottish players in their team, and they were all coming for, like Andy Gray at Dundee United, and obviously the boys at Aberdeen. I mean, English Premiership teams were just hand-picking all our best players, and that shows you how good they were to go down and play in that league.
Hugh, I wanted to ask you something. You said that you were delighted when Aberdeen won the trophy. What was the kind of feeling in the general Scottish public at that point? So everyone was for Aberdeen, no matter who they supported?
Yeah, well, everybody that I came across, I was working in newspapers, I wasn't in the sports desk at that time, I was on the news desk, and everybody in my news desk, I think there would be, if I think back, I mean, you know, in those days, tons of, I think there was one Aberdeen fan in the whole news desk, everybody was a Celtic or Rangers fan, and, you know, or a Glasgow fan, there was some, you know, some Thistle fan, so, but anyway, universally, everybody would be saying, oh, we really want Aberdeen to win. I mean,
do you think that would be the same now?
No, because I think there's a greater rivalry between Rangers and Aberdeen now than there was. There wasn't a rivalry then between, not that I can remember, Alan. I think it was all sparked off later on by the Durant Simpson, and maybe as well by the league decider at Ibrox as well, when Aberdeen just had to avoid defeat and they'd have won the title and they get beat. They get beat. So I think that all came later. Certainly my feeling at the time was, certainly me, I was really enthusiastic for Aberdeen to win it, and I was really enthusiastic for Dundee United as well, because, you know, Dundee United were a terrific team then. I mean, just, and as Alan says, full of great players. And of course, the reason that they stayed, many of them stayed at that time, was it was a retain system. You couldn't, your contract didn't run out. Your contract was an option. Was kept on going.
No Bosman rule.
No Bosman, so the club could just hang on to you forever, and it became a loggerhead. So you say, well, I'm leaving, and the manager said, well, you're not, because I know for a fact that Alan McLeish could have went to Spurs. I don't think there'd be any team in England doing the taking Willie Miller. Strachan, of course, eventually went to Manchester United, but you know, it was more easy to retain players in those days. Nowadays with Scottish players, you can see a top-class Scottish youngster, say an Aberdeen youngster, it's happened, a Celtic youngster, a Rangers youngster, go into the Premier League without having played for the first team.
Yeah, happened to Billy Gilmour. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that now as well.
And it's happened to the young Celtic boys at Bayern Munich. It happened with
Doak.
Yep.
Doak. Yeah.
So that you know, it's more fluid now than it was then.
Well, this game we're talking about, roughly when Aberdeen were able to beat Real Madrid, it's the last time that a Scottish team was able to win a European trophy. Can you foresee it happening again anytime soon?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think at this stage, I think Rangers are a wee bit off it. Celtic are obviously getting into the Champions League. I think if they were to drop down to the Europa, they might have a better chance, you know, against the weaker sides. But I think they would, both of them, Rangers and Celtic, would have to improve dramatically. You know, I know they did particularly well, the two of them getting to the UEFA finals, but I think it's a wee bit off the now.
Can you see it happen? Do you think last year was maybe the last big chance?
I thought, I mean, I don't think it's the last big chance, because I can. What you would have to have is everything working right, because money, football now is all about money. You know, the leagues that have got the best money have got the teams in the business end in Europe. Rangers bulked at that last year, and got to a penalty shootout in the final. So, and I've also, I mean, this century, what is it, Scottish teams have been in 3 finals this century, Celtic once and Rangers twice. So it's not impossible, but it's getting increasingly difficult given the superiority of the big 5 leagues.
Yeah, looks like Aberdeen could be returning to European football next year. They're in pole position to do so and get that, if not the Europa League spot, the Europa Conference League spot under Barry Robson. Is he the man to, well, I wouldn't go as far as saying bringing back European success, but certainly have a right go at it.
Well, the Aberdeen fans have been much traduced over the years. Everybody goes to what they expect in Fergie. The Aberdeen fans expect Fergie again, the Fergie area. I don't know of any Aberdeen fan that expects that at all. Aberdeen fans just expect, you know, maybe a a Scottish Cup now and again, a decent qualification for Europe, maybe a qualification for the Europa League, etc., etc. They're as realistic as the rest of us. What Robson has done has been really significant because he's galvanised the team. They're obviously, all playing to their best under him. He has now taken on the mantle of, it's now very difficult to see Aberdeen not being third. They've got some tough games coming up, but they've got that.
That Hearts game, that's going to be the crucial one.
That'll be the one where they're. But there will be a game that Hearts really has to have to win. Aberdeen would take a point from it. So I could see them. I could see them do. I hope they get into Europe because they're sold out on Saturday. So you can imagine what Aberdeen and European would be like. The money that would come in, not just from television, but from merchandising and from them. So I'm all for them doing well in Europe.
Well, it's been 16 years since knockout group football in Europe has been at Aberdeen. Do you think this is final of the year it's going to come back?
Yeah, I think we're obviously getting a bit excited, where they are, because they've only had the last third of the season. They've only came good.
Yeah.
Before that, if we go back then, they were awful. And I think the other thing you've got to take into consideration is the gap between Rangers and Celtic. It's an almighty number of points. So they are where they are because they're the best of the rest. How good that is, we won't find until they go into Europe and they come up against what kind of what quality that opposition is going to be like. But if they keep going the way they're going and buy obviously a couple of players in, try and keep a hold of their main players, then you've obviously got to be positive for them.
Yeah. Stu, Ruffy, the hard-hitting questions are coming through the chat. Dan has asked me how I would feel if I had to choose between Hugh's hairdo and Ruffy's hairdo. I think we've had 20 minutes of discussion about Aberdeen and reminiscing of the great times. These are the questions people really want to know.
I think it's a tough one as well.
Yeah, I think I would have to go with Ruffy's, unfortunately. I think it's a little more similar to my current style than yourself, Hugh. Nothing against you, but I would definitely go with your own outfit over Ruffy's today.
Fair comment. I'll not argue with that.
Absolutely. Well, moving on from Aberdeen, and just like to say that it's fantastic that they're doing so much to celebrate this 40th anniversary, and Peter's up there doing that just now. It's great to see, and hopefully the fans have a special weekend remembering that fantastic achievement that was 40 years ago today. But moving on to Motherwell, Hugh, this morning we had our reporter Patrick Mullen out at Fir Park because there's been a fair bit of a stoosh kicked up about Kevin Van Veen this season. Yesterday it was announced that he had been nominated for Player of the Year. Some interesting comments from Stuart Kettlewell about him today, so we'll hear those just now because Patrick Mullen was the man getting the thoughts of the manager Stuart Kettlewell.
Stuart Kettlewell spoke to the media this morning here at Fir Park ahead of his side trip to take on St Johnstone at the weekend. A victory at McDermott Park would see his side renew their Premiership status for another season, but Kettlewell believes that his side are no longer just focused on survival, but want to push on even further.
We have an opportunity to do that. I've not focused, as you rightly say, about what's happening behind us. I feel as if we can perform, take care of what we're doing, then it gives us a chance for that kind of goal. So I think it goes without saying that there's probably a few clubs in the mix to try and get that position, that 7th position.
It's been quite the season for Kevin Van Veen. He's got 24 goals in all competitions and has now received a PFA Player of the Year nominee. But Stuart Kettlewell believes that if any club are to sign the Netherlands striker in the summer, it will be highly unlikely that will be a Scottish club.
I would be amazed that if a club in Scotland could come up with the money that we would be thinking about for Kevin Van Veen. And again, I'm not wishing Kevin's career away from here, and this is where he's so categoric, I'm so categoric. As it stands, unless somebody was able to put life-changing money down in front of Motherwell and Kevin Van Veen, and both parties, by the way, it would have to be both parties, then he will remain a Motherwell player. I would be amazed if anyone in Scotland could pay that kind of money.
Well, if Stuart Kettlewell doesn't reckon that anyone in Scotland can afford Kevin Van Veen for the price that they want, do you think that's correct?
Well, it'd be interesting to know what the price is.
What do you think it is?
The value, it's a tough one. I think the guys were sitting here saying, is it 600,000? Is he $1 million? Would a Scottish club pay $1 million? You know, it's a really tough one. You know, you would have to know what they have him at and what kind of clubs that are interested in him. But he's obviously thrown it out there to get the best deal for Motherwell. You know, there will be clubs that are interested in him. You know, it would remain to be seen whether it was a Scottish club.
Yeah, we don't know, Hugh, how much they're after, but it sounds like it's going to be a sizable figure for the forward. He's 31 years of age. It might be tough to attract it.
Well, that's it. I mean, he's had a great season, but anybody that will be scouting him will say, what has he done before? What's he likely to do in the future? And we know for a fact that if you sign him on a deal, you're not going to get any sell on. You know, it's not. So what you're saying is, he's got to come in and do it right now, and he's got to do it for a couple of years, from 31 to say 34 or 35. I've watched him. I think he's had a terrific season, and some days he looks really. I mean, he's got more than a bit of technique as well, Adam. He can play football, and he's a big man, and he's in real confidence in scoring. But he'll be like everybody else in football. There'll be a price for him, and he'll only be worth what somebody pays for him. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, Ruffy, Niall Kane makes a good comment that they've already turned down 800,000 for him from China. Supposedly, he reckons he's worth £1 million. Do you think he's worth that, or potentially even more?
If somebody's prepared to pay £1 million, they'll take £1 million. You know, but you need to find who the buyer is. You obviously look down at England. You look at the Championship clubs. £1 million wouldn't be out of the question for them. You know, that would maybe they'd see that as a snip. But you've got to decide what you're getting. You know, because we've seen it so often, and I keep thinking of Louis Moulton, who was sensational. And I don't know what they got for him, but he went down to England and nothing really happened. So you've got to wonder, could he be a one season hit, or has he got more to offer? And that's the gamble that you're taking. If you buy him for £1 million, maybe this is his best season. So it's a big if, you know, because I'm not knocking our game or anything like that, but he will go to the Championship and come up against better players. So you've got to value that as well. You know, can he step up a level? Can he score goals at a different level of football? Yeah. Well,
yesterday it was revealed that he had been nominated for PFA Scotland Player of the Year. So he was speaking to the media yesterday about how this season definitely proves that he has proven his doubters wrong.
That's what I said last year when people, you know, when the people came to the club, so the journalists and everything, I always said, like, I'm going to chase the top scorers in this league, and I said that last year, and I've done it this year because I believed in myself and know what I'm capable of, and I'm just very happy that I've shown people that what I'm capable of, and to show them what I can do, because I always looked in the mirror and I know I can do it. They probably thought this is just a random Motherwell striker talking or had a whiskey in the morning, and he's probably not all there.
Are you surprised by his success? It seems like he's certainly surprised a few people since coming here from Scunthorpe.
I would say I was. I mean, when I watched him earlier, I thought I put him into a box. I thought big centre forward, rangy, physical, but he's more than that.
Yeah, his touches is amazing.
He's got good technique. At the moment, whether it's just the way he's always been or because he's got confidence, he's a very emphatic finisher now at the moment. So. So I've been surprised at the amount of goals he scored. I would say that, and for a team like Motherwell, that's the defining factor of a season. You know, if Dundee United had a striker that was scored in Van Veen level, if Kilmarnock had one, if Ross County had one, the bottom of the table would look a lot different. I mean, we talk about a team game, and it is, but the teams that are higher up the league have got more regular, reliable goal scorers, and what he has done for Motherwell this year has been really significant, because apart from, you know, there was tremors early in the season, obviously they're on to the third manager, there's obviously been tremors about relegation, but he's banished that. He banished it, and he banished it pretty quickly. And I know there's other guys in the team, but it's the goals that win matches. You know?
That is a good point you made, because if you were playing with Rangers and Celtic and you were a centre forward, you'd be expected to score 25 goals. You wouldn't be expected to score 25 goals on the Motherwell side, and he's done it. So you have to give him some kind of credit.
Yeah. Us journalists need players like him as well. Here, great talker, as you say, good bit of patter.
Yep, good speaker, and interesting comments as well. And also interesting because he's come into our game as well, a later age, and so you can see it from a bit of perspective. And it's interesting, you know, we sometimes get that in Scottish football, that people come in and their careers are completely revitalised by coming into this league, you know. Even at the top end, the Celtic Rangers end, their careers take another dash on, and he's certainly one. I mean, and as a player as well, you know, they'll be talking about big offers, etc., etc. But he'll be sitting at 31 knowing that this is last chance saloon for making a bit of serious money as well.
Yeah. Good fit for someone like a Hibs or an Aberdeen or Hearts or something, do you think, Ruff?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he's a good fit because he's proved he can score goals in our league. And if Aberdeen and Hibs and even Hearts, you know, are looking at somebody, that's got to come into the equation. No, that any time he plays against the teams that they want to beat, he's a goal scorer, and there's no any gamble in that. You're not taking a chance on him.
Up for PFA Scotland Player of the Year, do you think he's got any chance of winning it? Up against 3 Celtic players?
No, I don't think so. I think the 3 Celtic boys have been better for the whole season. No, I think at their level they've been absolutely fantastic. I'm swithering now. I've been jumping for the 3, not particularly the 3 Celtic players. I have Hatate. I started off with Hatate and then I jumped to McGregor.
Yeah.
And now I'm jumping again. And I'm thinking of the 3 of them. I'm thinking Callum McGregor is the model captain. His performances are 8 and 9 out of 10 every game. He just goes through games, controls the games, and that's what he's good at. And then I look at Kyogo, who's exciting, scores goals. You know, everybody loves a goal scorer. And then you look at Hatate and his midfield play is super. So for me, I don't know how to vote it. I don't know what of the 3 ticks me more than the others. So I think this one's up in the air. I think there could be a surprise. I do think Callum McGregor will win your one. The sports writer's one by a distance.
Yeah.
I really do think he'll win that because he fits. You know what that award's all about. This big one, I think might be a surprise, but I don't think it'll be Van Veen.
Yeah. Hatate, Kyogo, Van Veen, McGregor. Who's going to win it for you?
I think it's one of the Celtic players for me. I think I'm interested in Alan saying the players vote, you know, and how the players will vote in comparison to how the writers will vote. But my vote would very strongly be for McGregor. I think he's central to everything that Postecoglou wants done with that team on the park. But I think he's hugely influential and what Postecoglou and Celtic are about off the park. There would have been some, not murmurs, but there would be some maybe, you know, I wonder how this sort of lad, quiet, maybe introspective lad becomes captain of Celtic, particularly after somebody like Scott Brown, who was such a major lifer. And he's adapted the role to his own personality, to his own game. So I'd be hugely impressed with him off the park as well as on the park. He's not made a misstep, so he would be me for the double actually.
Yeah. Interesting point, and he might well do that. But our reporter Patrick Mullen has been very busy today after going to Fir Park this morning. He also then took the not so short trip over to Trinent, Hugh. He was out.
he's doing an Adam Binney impersonation.
Tell me, wasn't he walking there?
No, he's had the car sorted for today. But yes, he is, because I'm doing the show today. Didn't he go to Trinent? So here's our man Patrick out in Trinent.
I spoke to Lee Johnson this afternoon ahead of his side's trip to take on Aberdeen at the weekend. It's set to be a sold-out Pittodrie with a lot of extra noise surrounding the game, given it being 14 years since Aberdeen's Cup Winners' Cup success. Lee Johnson does believe this is a factor for his players to deal with, but he wants them to fully take this out of their mind and focus on the 90 minutes at hand.
Scottish football is brilliant for its passion, and these big games are great, aren't they? It's another big game. It's much better being in the top 6 because you get these. That's why you want to play football. That's why you want to manage clubs like this, because there's a lot of passion, a lot of honour at stake, if you like, of every game, and all the clubs have got great history and well within their rights to celebrate that history. But on the pitch, it's 11 against 11, and the boys, have got to push that out of their mind and actually execute on the day the game plan that we're setting up.
The breaking news coming out of Hibs this afternoon, though, is that Elie Youan has been signed on a 3-year permanent deal from St Gallen. Now, Lee Johnson said he was not only able to say about the full transfer fee, but was quick to thank the owners and the Gordon family for their significant investment.
The club have invested in a young asset, credit to the ownership and the Gordon family for the investment that they've put in on that one. It's a considerable investment, and one that we feel is a good one for us, not only on the pitch, but in terms of future value as well.
What about the weather there, Ruffy? Just as you said.
That's why I'm saying, that's where I've just come from.
Do you think Patrick's back the sunshine?
Yeah, I think he better. He's just
back to 700 for us.
But no, it's wonderful weather, but that's a good bit of business for Hibs. You always throw out a good signing before a bad one appears, and the bad one is Kevin Nisbet's going to be leaving soon. So you've got the supporters on board with a striker who's scoring goals and looking a better player than what they thought he was going to be. You've got him for 3 years, so yep, you've got them in a high, and that means it might cushion it a wee bit, because I think everybody knows that if the right offer comes on, Kevin Nisbet will be away. But no, that's a good one. Tom McManus has seen him more than us. He thinks there's something in him, and the Hibs management obviously think they're seeing something as well, so they get him on a good deal.
You spent this season on loan at the club from St Gallen, 3-year contract to 2026, 7 goals, 7 assists, more assists than any player in the league outside of the top two. Surely the Hibs fans will be delighted with this one.
Yeah, I don't know if they've been that delighted, earlier in the season, because he was a bit profligate, he was a bit erratic. You could see good things in him. He's quick, he's strong, but his finishing wasn't top notch, and you know why it's not top notch. If he was quite fast and he had the whole package, he wouldn't be playing in the SPFL. So there's things to work on. But towards the end of the season, when we're getting to business, he's come on. I don't know if it's confidence. He's settled down. He started scoring goals, and I think he's a good addition, because I think he's somebody that can be improved, and that's what clubs in Scotland have got to look at. From matter where you're at Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, is to recruit and have players that you can improve.
We made that point as well. He said that it's an investment, and he's grateful for the investment from the Gordon family, because that's someone who 5-6 years time, maybe not even as long as that, could sell on for more money.
Well, that has got to be the model. Now, the only club that's really, some clubs have done it, I mean, to limited success. You see, Hearts with a Hickey, Hibs with Scott McKenna. That's what your model's got to be. You've got to be not just having your gate money and your merchandising and your TV money, but you're going to have a situation where, in the best of all worlds, at the end of every close season, you're selling a player for 3 or 4 million, because that's game changing.
Roughly, the point was made by Dan in the comments as well, that's why he thinks that Nisbet has to go this summer. Because as we're talking about what Youan could become, Nisbet is a sellable asset for Hibs. Is it important that they move him on just now before another season goes, another season of injuries? He might not be as worth as much as what he used to be. Yeah,
well, obviously there's going to be a lot of dialogue between the scenes. He's already nearly had a move, and that fell flat for whatever reason, So the boy's always been given a promise: if the right deal comes in and it suits us and it suits you, you will go away. So we'll just have to see where we are in that one. I'm sure Hibs would rather he stayed and they had the two of them, because I don't know if the new boy is a guy who can play up there his cell. I think with Nisbet playing beside him, he's looked very, very good. So, no, Nisbet will be good. Maybe there'll be another striker who'll come in. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, if he stays, can you imagine a front three of Youan, Nisbet, Martin Boyle? That's starting to look like a front three that could really challenge in this.
Well, I'm sure that's what the Hibs fans would want, but I think they have to be realistic. Like Kevin Nisbet has said, I need to move on, I need to try myself at another level. So I think if Kevin Nisbet went, I don't think the fans would be too upset.
Yeah, another thing as well is what Hibs and Hibs fans have got to look and say there is other Kevin Nisbets out there, because Kevin Nisbet came from Dunfermline, so there's players in Scotland that you would say, right, let's have a good look, let's get the recruitment right, and let's get somebody into replacement. Already, I think, as Alan says, they've made steps in that direction, getting Youan tied up, because that means there's not any dramatic or crisis need to get another centre forward. But if Nisbet goes, they'll need to have somebody coming in the door.
I hope Nisbet goes. I hope he goes for a lot of money. I hope it's about 3 or 4 million, because I think Partick Thistle have got a sell-on clause.
Have you?
Oh, is that right?
I think we have.
You just made that up. That would be great if you did. But recruitment seems to be a real issue for Scottish clubs just now. It gets tougher and tougher every year. I was speaking to David Martindale about that yesterday, so we're going to bring up a little cut for you about how he was explaining how much it costs for signing players, and how he believes that a £1,000 a week player in Scotland might actually be a bit better than a £1,000 a week player anywhere else.
Spoke about it historically in the past. £1,000 a week player at Livingston is definitely not getting a £1,000 a week player in England, or a £1,000 a week player in the second tier Belgium, second tier Switzerland, the Championship National in France, the third tier, the second tier Portugal. These types of things, £1,000 player. So when I'm speaking to agents out with Scotland, it's very difficult. So they're then hitting me with a player that's in and around £1,000, but that gap between finances and ability, that's the gap that I think's getting bigger. It's a gap that I'm finding more difficult to bridge.
Hugh, what I get from that is that so Davey obviously reckons that the players here are better than the players that are being recommended to him for that price from leagues abroad. Do you think we're maybe not charging enough or paying enough for our top talents?
Well, it's a matter. It's all budgets. Yep. You pay what you afford, and if you pay more than you afford, you go down the drain. I mean, that's as simple as that. I mean, people all the time wonder about, this is a business, and it runs, because it's a business, it runs on capitalist principles. There's no other reason. You have to balance your budget at the end of the year. There'll be situations now that, you know, the wages in football increasingly go up, and they go up from the top level, but it seeps down the tree. But the revenues in some leagues don't match that. The increase in revenues don't match it. So that gap is what David Martindale has got to fill every year. And it's a gap that Scottish football has to fill. And it becomes wider and wider as the years go on. If you talk about the standard of footballer in Scotland 20 years ago, generally, to the standard of footballer in Scotland now, there's a huge gap.
And do you think the decrease in budgets and players want to move abroad is a factor in that?
Oh, it's all about money. Yeah. There is no mystery about it whatsoever. There's no mystery about it whatever. You know, if you're saying the warning signs were happening when teams like Motherwell and others are losing players to Fleetwood Town or to Morecambe or to, you just say, well, there's an easy analogy. See, one time in Scotland, the top players in Scotland would go to the top teams in England, right? What we call then the first division, we'd call it the Premier League now. Then that's where your Colin Steens would go, or whoever, your John Hugheses, Willie Wallace. That's where they went if they left Celtic or Rangers. Or Martin Buchan, Aberdeen would go to Manchester United, Strachan, etc., etc., etc. That's where they would go. Nowadays, top players in Scotland are going to League Two sides. It's that simple. Yeah. Because that's where they're going to get more money than they're getting here. And that...
If you listen to all the Scottish clubs now, the Scottish clubs are now getting a financial hit now from COVID.
Yeah.
COVID is now hitting hard in the year of no crowd and no income coming in. And if you look at every club that we speak to, Aberdeen, £5 million loss, St Mirren are lost, Livingston are lost, apart from Rangers and Celtic, I think every team will produce a loss because they've had no income for that year, with no fan, nothing coming in, but still paying the players extraordinary wages. Now that's going to hit you sometime, and I think it is now this year. That's why you've got Davy Martindale being honest enough and letting everybody know that the players that I've got, I'm just throwing a figure out, the players that I've got are on £1,500 a week, won't be getting that next year. He's already been told his budget is going to be nowhere near what it usually is, Davy, because of the income and because of COVID, and so we have to readdress what the situation is. But he'll not be the only one. The other clubs will be doing it and all.
So how do we fix it?
Well, the
what's
clubs
the
have to
solution?
fix it.
Yeah.
Well, the clubs have to work within their means, and as Hugh was saying there, if you do go into a deficit at the end of the year, you got to have somebody you can sell. If you've not got a sellable asset, you're in trouble.
Can you look at it a different way? Because his comments say that essentially the £1,000 a week players that he gets from overseas aren't good enough to play in Scotland. Can you also maybe flip that and say, well, that actually says that the players here are better than what the rest of the world or the rest of Europe has given teams in Scotland credit for?
I don't know. I think players, I think this is such a fluid and capitalistic thing. Players are at every club for a reason. You know, there's not, I mean, again, I don't want to go on about it, but in the old days you could go to East Stirling and say, oh, they've got a great right back. And suddenly the next week he was playing for Chelsea in English First Division, and Eddie McCready. You don't get that nowadays. And I think the big difference for the clubs is, one, they've got to maintain their position in the leagues. That's the first thing. They've got to, if you're Aberdeen, you want to get into Europe. If you're Livingston, you want to stay up. If you're Dundee, you want to get promoted. So you've got to be competitive. But you've got to be competitive within a financial structure. And the financial structure, what makes the English teams and the French teams and the German teams and Italian teams have, larger budget is a television deal. It's as simple as that. I mean, you look at, Aberdeen and Hibs, you could say on Saturday, are really banging the drum for their potential. They've got to sell out. Got to sell out. What more can a club do? Sell every seat in the ground. But if you're not getting like the English clubs, 100 million a year from a television deal, well, you're automatically. I mean, for example, there'll be more people at Aberdeen. If you talked about fans, there'll be more people at Aberdeen v Hibs than there'll be at a Bournemouth home game.
Well, the stadium's bigger for a start, isn't it? So you're already at a disadvantage.
I think the only way out for Scottish football is, and it's just a blunt way, is to say, right, geography means nothing. And then that would give you, the bigger teams, the Celtic and Rangers, a chance to compete in a European league. And then it would have a fill-up further down, because Aberdeen v Hibs on Saturday could be a title decider, that kind of thing. And that would bring a fill-up. But it's all about money now.
That's a discussion for another day. We could fill a show with reconstruction and Super Leagues, Old Firm joining England, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But Livingston at the weekend, disappointing result, losing to Ross County. The Staggies will play Dundee United this weekend. So we had Claire Kinnaird out speaking to Jim Goodwin this afternoon.
Reaction to the defeat at Ibrox was a brilliant one, where we managed to go and win 3 games on the spin. The team have proven to themselves that they're capable of doing that. And there's no better time than now at this stage of the season to go and do something similar. So, we don't fear playing anybody. We have the utmost respect for all of the teams that we're playing against. Each team has got their own different qualities, but we have to focus on our strengths and make sure that we bring our A game on Saturday. And if we do that, then we give ourselves a great chance of taking 3 points.
Ruffy, Dundee United looked on track to stay up. They were on a great run. They lose to Rangers and then win 3 on the bounce. Do you think this little blip at the weekend there could really hurt them? That's almost damaged confidence a bit.
It will hurt them, but the thing they'll be saying to themselves, the 3 that they had on the bounce was against the 3 teams that they're going to be playing in the next 4 games. And I don't think anybody who gambles would be looking at that bottom half of the league and saying, I can certainly pick who's going to win that game.
Not at all.
Because they're all capable of beating each other. That's why I think it was so important when the split came, when you got 3 home games or 2 away games. Can you imagine the teams that have got 3 home games, just now, like I pick out Kilmarnock now. Kilmarnock will be sitting believing in the next 4 games they've got 3 games at home. And if they don't stay up with that, then it's their own fault. They've
got something like 4th or 5th best home record in the league, guys.
And then you're looking at the teams who've maybe got 3 away games out of 4. So it's a hard one to get your head around. But I would still bet some of the teams that are playing away from home, they win games and they run up to the end.
Yeah, we'll discuss all the weekend's games in more detail tomorrow night. Peter will be back to preview the weekend's matches, is it? He's back tomorrow, sorry. So we'll get rid of him one day. Maybe he'll retire at some point, but unfortunately he's back. I've got to deputise today, but before we get to that tonight, there's a big game, Hugh. Celtic take on Glasgow City at Celtic Park, and what could come the end of the season prove to be a title decider. It might be a record crowd tonight. The current record for a domestic women's game in Scottish football is at 8,066 people. Now we know the Green Brigade, the Celtic Ultras section, are planning to take up the whole lower section of the Jock Stein stand behind the goal, part of their, I think is it called the Celtic end, their programme, their project, to try and get a full safe standing section behind the goal. So they're going to go out in their numbers and try and kick on the women's team tonight. How big an opportunity is this for these women's players to play in front of so many people and really showcase their talent?
It's tremendous. I was at the game of the split when Celtic played Glasgow City at Peters Hill, and it was a strange game. I think, to be correct, I think Celtic won 4-2, but they won, missed a couple of penalties as well that day, and it looked as if Glasgow City's bubble had been really well and truly burst. But they've had this lead. They've got the situation where it's still in their hands. A couple of draws against Celtic and Rangers, even they don't even have to win. They've got this, so it's a three-way title race at the moment. You've got the situation where Rangers management, and they were saying this quietly, but they'll be wanting Celtic to win to bring Glasgow City within grasp of Rangers as well. So it's all to play for. Again, I thought Celtic were terrific at Peters Hill after a very sticky opening 15-20 minutes where Glasgow City could have gone ahead. So good game, tight game. And it's good to see there'll be a big crowd tonight.
Yeah, roughly Glasgow City 77 points, Rangers on 75, but they played a game extra. Celtic on 72. This is a really strange situation where Rangers and Celtic will both be hoping for each other to win matches against Glasgow City. Can you remember anything like that happening before?
Oh, I think it would happen quite a lot. That if you need to peg back somebody, you're hoping that somebody else will do your turn.
I mean, in terms of Rangers and Celtic.
Well, I suppose the old days with Aberdeen.
If you were going up to Aberdeen,
you were one.
That's a tough one. You would say, or even Tynecastle. That's a possibility. Or Easter Road's a possibility.
Even for titles, I mean, you've got to remember that at one time, Aberdeen, Dundee United were challenging for titles, and Celtic and Rangers were chasing them. And the Celtic and Rangers fans would again whisper it very quietly, but they'd be saying, John Gregg's Rangers goes up to Alec Ferguson's Aberdeen and nick a point at least, and keep us in the run for the title.
Yeah. Said to be a cracker, and hopefully the Celtic women's team can break that record tonight at Celtic Park. But I was speaking to Caitlin Hayes yesterday, Celtic women's player, all about this match. She's looking forward to it.
It's a dream come true for the girls that are going to go across that white line and put that shirt on tomorrow and play and represent the club in its excellence that it deserves. But it's also for those little girls that are in the stands and they don't need to witness a man running around chasing after a football thinking I want to be them, but realistically they can't. Tomorrow they can turn up, watch some girls run around and for the shirt and for the club, and they can be, I want to be that girl when I grow up, and it's something that they can achieve. It's something that they should aspire to be, and as long as we leave the game in a better place, then it'll be a great game when they get to that opportunity. So it's an honour and it's a privilege to be in a position where you can inspire the next generation.
Yeah, huge game tonight, and there's more football on tonight as well with the Europa League and Europa Conference League playing. So let's take a look back at the European competitions from this week. Can bring a graphic on screen for you just now, revealing the results from the UEFA Champions League. Real Madrid and Man City 1-1, and Inter Milan beating AC Milan 2-0 in the Milan derby at the San Siro. Roughly, I know you'd already spoken about the Real Madrid and Man City game the other day, but Milan derby last night, Inter winning it 2-0. Do you think there's any way back for AC Milan?
Well, there's always a way back, but you wouldn't think so, being 2-0 down. But it's the same old thing, and I keep saying it. When the big time comes, the big time players step up and deco. Who's been about, quality player, scores quality goals at the right time, and that's what gets you into that position. Semi-finals and finals are big tournaments.
Gee, it could have been even worse. Inter were inexplicably denied a penalty to make it
and even worse as well, in that Milan just won out the races, and Inter were dominant. I think that's a difficult score, 2-0. I really do. I think it's a difficult score to bring back, and I think Inter more or less have booked their place. The other semi-final is the captivating one for me, because Real Madrid will not be dismayed at going there with a draw. They're just full of big players. This is what we do. We get to finals and we win them. You came up with the great line earlier that the last European final they lost was against Aberdeen. It's stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was watching that match in the first half. Man City were so controlled and dominant, and then Vinicius Junior scores that goal, and I remember just saying to my dad, it's like, this is what they do. Like they just always seem to come up with the goods in this competition.
But see, really elite players believe in themselves, and they believe in the system, and they believe in what they do, and they believe in each other. And I watched them at Celtic Park, and they were no me dismayed in that, but Celtic were really, on the front foot, ascending. The stadium is bursting. But you could just sense on the park, Modric is just doing what Modric does, Vinicius Junior's doing what he's doing, Benzema's doing. There's a kind of inevitability that they just keep on keeping on, and they know that the process and the quality they have bring things. I think Manchester City is going to be tough because they're a quality side now as well, Adam, a quality side, but they've been that for a few years, but I think the addition of Haaland has given them a sharpness that makes them. But that'll be some game.
Who's winning it? Not this game, the competition as well. Real Madrid winning it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruffy?
I'm sticking with Man City.
Man City? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. You would imagine that semi-final will be the ultimate winner. Massive favourites against Inter. We've got the UEFA Europa League to look forward to tonight. Roma take on Bayer Leverkusen, and Sevilla play Juventus. There's the pictures on screen for you just now. Ruffy, we'll start with yourself. Score predictions for the two matches tonight?
Well, Sevilla have been there and done it all the time. Juve are a very difficult side to beat. I think it all depends on the score tonight. I think Sevilla might get a draw out of that one. I think, and then obviously I think they'll be in another final. I think that they know how to do it.
Masters of this competition, aren't they?
Jose Mourinho, you wouldn't bet against him. Mm-hmm. Being to another final, that's his CV, that's his pedigree. That's where he gets noted by everybody. If they're looking for a manager, somebody who's won something, then he's certainly done it.
Yeah. I'll go for Roma and just Sevilla.
So both going Roma and Sevilla in the final, yeah?
I'm just thinking, though, it's very interesting that the most spectacular and exciting Serie A team this year by a country mile has been Napoli. Yet you can look at the business end of the competitions, and there's 4 Serie A in the top 2 competitions, still in the semis, and not one of them's Napoli. Shows you that league might be just coming back to the strength that we knew it in the.
Napoli were unlucky in that quarter as well against AC Milan, but it does show the quality of the league. It's fantastic this season. Napoli walked away with it. Going on to the Conference League, that takes place tonight as well too. West Ham will take on AZ Alkmaar. Fiorentina against Basel, and Hugh, it seems like a lifetime ago that Alkmaar were playing Dundee United at the start of this season. Yep. It's hard to believe that this is actually the same season and that playing for the same competition. It's the exact same competition.
And the Dundee United beat them.
Aye, the first game.
Narrowly lost the second leg. But it's a long time coming. I'd like to see West Ham win it. I'd like to see David Moyes win it. I think he's been through the mill this season. It looks as if he's going to get through the mill as well. He's going to get on the other side. The results of terrific result the other day there, and it looks as if he's kept West Ham up, which is always going to be the kind of primary objective, I would imagine, in the Premier League, and getting to a final. I thought it was interesting when he was asked how this would rate in his CV, and he said getting to a final, European final, West Ham would beat anything that he's done before, and that includes getting the Champions League with Everton, etc., etc.
Do you think they'll be in the final?
I think so.
Yeah, and then Fiorentina Basel, who's going to?
I think Fiorentina again, only on the basis that Serie A looks a good league again.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great to see potentially Fiorentina, who have played against Hearts this season, if they could play Alkmaar, and they've played against Dundee United. It's just something you can put out there. But Ruffy, who's making the final?
I probably agree. For me, David Moyes, I hope he does get to the final.
Tell you who doesn't. Hope that producer Anne, she's due to go to London first week in June, and her 2 pals work for West Ham, so the trip's cancelled if they get to the final.
Oh, that's a shocker. You've got to go. If you get a final, you've got to go. But West Ham, David Moyes isn't guaranteed to be there any year with the owners. You never know what's going to happen. So if you go to the final and he won it, it's something on his CV. If somebody else is looking for a manager, at least they've got a winner there. So that's why I hope he wins it.
And add to them, you asked a question about Scottish teams and European finals. I'm changing my answer.
What are you going for?
I'm going to 11.
Okay.
But wouldn't it? Another question should be if David Moyes. I'd love David Moyes to win it, and then become how many Scottish managers, name the Scottish managers that have won European trophies.
That's tomorrow's quiz question. We'll use that tomorrow then. Thanks for giving us inspiration, Hugh. Just as you said that, we'll reveal the answer to the quiz just now. So the quiz question we'll put on screen for you just now. How many major European finals have Scottish clubs participated in? Major titles being the European Cup or the Champions League, the UEFA Europa League or the UEFA Cup, and the Cup Winners' Cup, Super Cup, your Intercity Fairs Cup, Intertotal Cup, etc. No, they don't count. I'm saying they don't count. That's what I'm saying. Sorry. So the Intertotal Cup and your Intercity Fairs Cup don't count. Just the three big ones plus the Super Cup. Hugh's going for 11.
Oh, I've failed miserably.
Roughly what are you going for?
I went 7. So.
7. I can see there's someone's just put in the comments just now. James Skeen has gone for 12, which is the correct answer. You are one off, so we'll go through it. Celtic have been in the Champions League final, the European Cup final, in 67 and in 1970. Dundee United have been in the UEFA Cup final in 1987, as have Celtic in 03, Rangers in 2008 and Rangers in 2022. For the Cup Winners' Cup, Rangers in it in 61 and 67, as well as winning it in 72, and then Aberdeen were also in it in 1983, as well as the two Super Cup finals, Rangers in 1972 and Aberdeen in 1983, which is 10. Celtic being in 3 finals, Rangers in 6, Aberdeen in 2, and Dundee United in 1.
How did Rangers play in the Super Cup?
That's what I was thinking.
In the Super Cup, I seen this earlier. I think it was maybe actually Frankfurt. I know that. No, that was another game. You put me in the spot. Yeah,
we'll find out.
Yeah, you put me in the spot. I can't remember. I looked at it earlier.
Ajax, maybe? No.
I think you're right. I think it was Ajax. Yeah, Ajax in the Super Cup.
Somewhere in my brain.
Anyway, we'll get the answer to your question on tomorrow's show when Peter is back. The gaffer's back from his trip away. But that was excellent. Thank you very much, Hugh. Thank you very much, Ruffy. Thanks for watching.